Hi there, and welcome to this week's edition of Top End Track Talk. I'm Andrew O'Toole, and today we'll be previewing this coming Saturday's meeting here from Fanny Bay, which will be the 18th of June. With day one of the carnival only a fortnight away and the Rowan Cup fixture next week, the fields have taken an upturn in size and quality. The three-year-olds take centre stage this week as they look to confirm their place in the Darwin Guineas on the first day of the carnival, the 2nd of July, and the 2nd and 7th races hold particular interest for the second season gallopers. The first race this Saturday is timed to go at 2:17 p.m, with the last scheduled to go a little bit later at 5:50 p.m. In the first, the tab handicap for the benchmark 76 contenders over 1,300 metres. My numbers are 1, 2 and 5. Going here, number 1, KRONOS, to be ridden by Jade Hampson. How good was it to see Jade back on her first day's riding back since injury? Boot home a double last week. She only had the 4 rides for 2 wins and a second. Going great, the apprentice, and she takes the mount here on KRONOS. Claims the 4 kilograms, so takes KRONOS' weight from 59 down to 55 kilograms. He hasn't won, or hasn't even started, would you believe, at this trip of 1,300. But that said, he has been placed twice at 1,400, and he was placed second in the Guineas here as a 3-year-old over a mile. So allowed to get his own rules, and that's the big if, I suppose. If he's allowed to get his own rules in front, he'll take plenty of beating. Trained, of course, by Phil Cole. I've got him on top, number 1. To beat maybe the fly on the ointment, number 2, Razoo, trained by Gary Clark. He had a good day last week with a treble. Jared Todd in the saddle. He was a good winner here last time over this trip, but that was in 0 to 64 grade, so he's got to go up in grade, same trip obviously. He's speedy and he's drawn inside KRONOS, so it'll be interesting to see when they've gone 100 metres who's in front. If KRONOS can cross him and doesn't get too much pressure, he's the horse to beat, but if Razoo holds him out, then it could be a different story. He'll run well, number 2, Razoo, and in for third, the stablemate, number 5, Rich Sun. Wayne Davis rides from the 1 gate, trained by Gary Clark, of course, and consistent galloper, but this is probably a good deal harder than he's been meeting recently. In the first, my numbers are 1, 2 and 5. The second, the totally workwear Palmerston 20 years. Trobus Handicap, that's a bit of a mouthful. This is the benchmark 66. This for the 3-year-olds, and it's over the 1,300 metres. Really good pointer, this one, to the Guineas in a fortnight's time. Good size field of 9 to go around here, and my numbers are 2, 3 and 7. Having his first start in Darwin is number 2, Flying Start, but he's carried all before him in Alice Springs. He's won his last 3 starts. In fact, he's only 3 starts in Alice. And trained by Greg Connor, and Jess Philpott travels from Alice Springs to continue her association with this son of Flying Artie. He was very good winning the Guineas there 2 starts back over a mile. Admittedly, the favourite on that occasion, Dakota Lee, was late scratched at the start, but nevertheless won by over 8 lengths. He came out then and beat the older horses on the day 4 of the carnival in Alice, beating Bench Press, and that's no mean feat. Drops back to the 1,300. He's had a trial here last week in Darwin to acclimatise himself with the track, and he looks a pretty smart customer to me. I think he'll be very hard to beat. Number 2, Flying Start. To beat number 3, Super Famous, John Peacock trains, and in the saddle is Adam Nichols again. He's only had the 2 starts in Darwin for 2 really impressive wins over shorter trips, 11 and 1,200. But this step up to the 1,300 doesn't look on paper like it will worry him, but he is unknown at the journey, so take him on trust, but he's certainly in top form. And in for third, number 7, Malibu Edition. Tom Logan trains, Stan Sakos aboard. Didn't mind this horse's run first up back on the track behind Super Famous. Going up in trip will suit. That was 1,200 last time. The step to the 1,300 would certainly be in his favour. So look to him at maybe a little bit of odds. My numbers in the second, 2, 3 and 7. The third's the Silk Rooftop Sessions Handicap. I was up on the rooftop at Silk's last Friday night. Fantastic view, fantastic conditions up there, and of course the dry season weather makes it all the better. This over 1,200 for the Class 2 gallopers. My numbers are 3, 1 and 4. Seacom on top for me, trained by Gary Clark, Jared Todd aboard. Really good run last time out over this trip of 1,200 in Class 2 grade. So same grade, same distance. Ran second to Dream Weaver on that occasion, the 21st of May. Getting close to a win, gets a good chance in this event. Number 3 on top. To beat the stablemate, number 1, Chief Mondo, Paul Shires aboard. A last start winner over 1,000. He's stepping up in trip. He's only had the 1 start at the journey and failed to figure in the finish on that occasion. So maybe the trip's the only question mark, but certainly racing in good style. And in for third, number 4, Northern Factor. Racing well this campaign for Phil Cole, and Wayne Davis in the saddle this week. Vanessa Arnott rode a week ago here when he was second behind Real Reason, racing well, and she's a 5-year-old mare, should be in the finish as well. My numbers in the third, 3, 1 and 4. The fourth, the Ladbrokes Switch Handicap, 1100 metres we go to now for the 0 to 58 gallopers. Good field here, good size field. My numbers here, 2, 4 and 5. Going with a one fresh up here, number 2, Wild Rover, trained by Gary Lafoe and Paul Shires in the saddle. He's riding really in good style recently. Had, I think, a treble a couple of meetings ago and rode a double last week. And Wild Rover was a winner here on the 15th of January, then down the track on the 5th of Feb. He hasn't raced since, so he's fresh up. He's been placed previously in a fresh state, and I just thought in this even lineup, he was a chance at good odds to put his best foot forward. So number 2 on top for me. Ahead of 4, Swing with Junior. Kim Hahn trains, his team going well, and Adam Nichols aboard. Last start second behind Dream Chance here was good. That was the 28th of May. And then for third, the speedy number 5, Faith and Love, Phil Cole trains. Wayne Davis in the saddle. Third last time over 1,000, up in trip to the 1,100. Maybe that's the only question mark. Has had 4 seconds and 3/3 over the journey, so it's not as if she doesn't get the trip, but just hasn't won. Maybe she gets her chance on Saturday. Numbers in the fourth, 2, 4 and 5. Race 5 is the Open 1000. It's the Karen Brown Fine Art Handicap, and it's for the Open Sprinters. 7 runners to go around here. Good field as well. My numbers are 3, 5 and 6. Going here with number 3, Maserati. He's got such a great record on this track. 10 starts. I think he's won 6 times, 2 seconds, 2/3. So never out of the first 3. And his last start effort was a fresh up win here on the 28th of May. He beat Sebricate on that occasion. Nicole Irwin trains, Jess Philpott in the saddle, and no reason why he can't continue that great run on the track. Number 3 on top, Maserati. To beat number 5, Niwand. Interesting runner, trained by Jason Manning and Vanessa Arnott in the saddle. Of course, ran second in the Palmerston last year behind May Amin. Has been racing recently in South Australia. In fact, had a couple of runs there in December. Then a run on the 30th of April, fresh up. He finished down the track, but that was in benchmark 78 grade at Morfettville. He's a very smart sprinter. I'm sure Jason will have him ready to go a bold 1,000 metres on Saturday. And then for third, number 6, Belmont Day. Trained by Gary Clark, Jared Todd aboard. Another one fresh up, hasn't raced since the 2nd of October. Won the Lightning here on Cup Day last year. Very speedy sprinter. Had a couple of runs in August and October and was disappointing. Has had a long break and looked to him to put his best foot forward here, fresh up. Numbers in the 5th, 3, 5 and 6. The 6th is the Thanks Robin Jarry Handicap. Robin, a long-time employee of both the Darwin Turf Club and Thoroughbred Racing NT. She retired last Friday, so we wish Rob all the best in this race named in her honour. It's the 1,600 for the 0 to 64 gallopers. My numbers here are 1, 3 and 2. When he gets his chance again, number 1, Captain Hedderwick. He's run second his last 3 all over this trip of 1,600 metres. Jared Todd takes them out for Gary Clark, and just has to be very hard to beat. His last 3 efforts for second behind Orsean, Looking for You and Obligatory. Small field here, drawn for 59 kilograms, should be very hard to beat number 1. To beat number 3, Floriat Pika. Was a big winner here last week when a few things went wrong for some of his rivals, but that said, it was still a very good performance by Floriat Pika. On that occasion, it was ridden by Jade Hampson. This week, Wayne Davis goes on, so it's a big turnaround in the weight. Horse carried 54.5 last week, back to the 58 kilograms this week, but sure to be there or thereabouts. And then for third, number 2, Defence Attorney. Tayan Holter trains, Jade Hampson rides, and Defence Attorney always to be considered in a race of this nature. But it's an even field, this one. Can't really leave any of them out. My numbers, 1, 3 and 2. And the last interesting race to finish the day, the Bridge Toyota Handicap, race 7, over the 1,600 metres for the 0 to 58 gallopers. 8 runners here, and look for the 3-year-olds to really put their credentials forward for the Guineas in a fortnight's time. My numbers are 1, 2 and 4. Wolfburn from the Gary Clark stable. Gary's obviously has his team firing in advance of the carnival. Jared Todd aboard, so that combination could be in for another big day. And this horse has only had the one start in Darwin, and it was a winning one over 1,200 metres in maiden grade, admittedly. That was on the 4th of June. Goes up in trip quite dramatically from 1200 to 1600, but obviously this horse has been crying out for ground. His form in the southern states in New South Wales was over ground, over distances of a mile and further, so I don't think this trip will worry him, and he's on his way towards the Guineas in a fortnight. Number 1. To beat number 2, Fisher, still a maiden, trained by Tayan Holter. Paul Shire's aboard, but this horse just crying out for a trip. Last start second was behind Wolfburn, and the 1600 metres really looks like it will suit. And in for third, number 4, Marvellous Night, also comes out of that Wolfburn maiden race here from a couple of weeks ago. Tayan Holter doesn't train. Heather Lehman trains rather. Siren Fork in the saddle. Just thought it was an improver getting out over a bit of ground. So my numbers in the last, 1, 2 and 4. Best bet of the day in race 3, number 3, Seacom. Race 3, number 3, Seacom, I think can get the chocolates. The best roughie is in race 4, number 7, St Olga. Missed the jump here the other day. If it gets away with him, is a speedy type, and just forget it went round the other day. Race 4, number 7, St Olga. Well, that wraps up this edition of Top End Track Talk, but we'll be back again next week in advance of the Rowant Cup fixture. Always a good day on the calendar here in the Top End. A number of Darwin Cup contenders will be out in the Rowant Cup next week, and it's always a good pointer to carnival features upcoming. Until next week, good luck and good punting.